No, never seen do that. Hey, we're back. Welcome to the Grit Gym Show, or the Rachel and Adam Show. The Rachel and Adam Show today. Today we're talking a little bit about the status quo, why it's good to be weird, and and when it's just kind of ridiculous to try to be weird. We didn't rehearse this. We didn't really. Are you playing footsie with me?
No.
It's okay if you are.
It's all right.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that, how it affects us in our lives, or how we've learned to do this, and when we first started out, how weird we really were, and how much we appreciated it, and how much the status quo really holds people back in their own lives. Because I think this is like for me, status quo has just been something that has just almost been like an obstacle to everything that I've wanted in my life. And I don't know if it's that way for you, but I think that one of the greatest things that you can do in your life is to be who you are. Not necessarily to try to be weird, but to be who you are. What are some of your thoughts on like being weird and what and before we get into this, please share the video. The more people that you share this video with, the more people that will come in, and we'll all have a discussion around this topic. And if you're on Instagram, you can tag your friends in the comment section and it'll shoot out to them. So anyway, what is it like? What are your thoughts on like being a weirdo? Because that was one of the first things I said to you, and I meant it as a super compliment. But I was like, "You're weird as fuck."
Well, some people don't mean it as a compliment most of the time. I don't know. I've always been called weird, but I never really thought that it was a bad thing. Yeah. Really, even when they said it was weird,
that would have been
nice. They meant it as a diss.
I don't know. Adam Reese was usually pretty synonymous with... Adam Reese is weird. Adam Reese is weird.
Well, they just didn't know how to describe it other than that.
Well, like, if you think of the opposing version of that, like, what would you rather be? Would you rather be normal? Like, normal. Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait to be fucking normal. That sounds awesome. Okay, so I can be medicated like everybody else because I'm so depressed or anxious or whatever it is. I can be angry all the time. I can think that conflict is combat. I can, like in relationships, how many people walk around like it's normal to call your partner your ball and chain? Like I don't think of her like that. Like to me, like you are not ball and chain. You're not something that holds me back. You're something that like drives me forward. Like nothing is probably. I don't know if very many things in my life have inspired me more than being in a relationship. Maybe when someone says I couldn't do something, but that might be something. But that might be one thing. I don't know.
But no, I don't know, growing up it's a little harder to take the word than it is now.
Why do you say that?
Well...
Because you said that you never took it as really like a diss, that people would call you weird. I took it as a super diss. I took it really personal.
And she would always call me her go-to ones were weird, immature, or... stupid. I don't know.
These all sound like great compliments to me. These all sound like awesome compliments.
Obviously not compliments. Coming
she didn't mean
from
them that way.
Yeah, she just didn't understand why I wanted to do the things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And my thing was just I was bored with what we were doing, so I would kind of cause chaos and,
See, like normal
try to stir it up.
Normal sounds boring to me. Being adult sounds boring to me. Adult sounds like institutionalized. Like, nothing sounds more boring to me than being institutionalized and having to do what you should do and what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm playing by a script that somebody's already done is kind of what it is. It's like, well, it worked for this person this way, so you have to do it this way. It's like, just because it's been done this way forever doesn't mean it's the only way you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, or the accepted general stuff, like it's reasonable to feel guilty, it's reasonable to feel anger, it's reasonable to feel shame, it's reasonable to feel anxious, to feel like you're not enough. I think those are that's the recipe of the status quo. That's like how you're supposed to be. It's like, I don't think that's accurate at all. I don't have to feel guilty for something that I had zero responsibility over. I don't need to feel shame for something that had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I don't have to get angry. Like, it's not reasonable for me to feel like I'm not good enough, so I'm going to feel angry so that I push you away from me.
Well, it's kind of
I might get angry, but it's still an error on my part.
It's like a pressure to please other people. You know what I mean?
You think that's the diss with
it's
weird? It's like
when you're not normal, or you're not common, or you're strange. They're telling you they want you to be like they are, or
right. They're like, I'm not good enough.
Go for the normal.
Who are you to think that you can be different? Like what? You think like you're better than us?
And then it becomes like an inward pressure where you feel like you have to do the normal thing to not stand out, or then you don't want to stand out.
Right.
And you kind of lash out. Or some people do.
I think they lash out.
I mean, everybody does in their own way.
But like, why would you not want to stand out? Like, champions stand out. People that do really successful in their life, they stand out. People that do really successful in sports and school and anything, they stand out. They stand above the rest. They are like they work to be the best. So like, on some level, that's a good thing, and that's not the status quo.
Well, I mean, it's thinking outside the box. It's going this way when everybody's trying to go this way.
They zagged when you zigged.
Yeah. I don't know. Being weird is like interesting. It's fun. It's creative. It's.
Where do you draw?
I don't know.
And when you look at that, you're thinking of like being weird as in, because like when I say weird, what I'm saying is I am who I am to my base, to the way that I want to be. Not I'm weird because.
You're trying to be weird.
I'm trying to be weird. If that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. But
when I was a kid and like Elena was just like my
Elena's
sister.
your younger sister.
Yeah, she was just
they're like the same age.
Want to, I don't know. Anytime I'd try to think of ideas of what we would do that day, and I would just be like, try to think of the craziest, most random thing that we could do, and I'd want to do it, and then she'd be like, I don't know, that doesn't sound like. I'm like, well, why not? Like, what else are we gonna do? Sit around and watch TV? So I don't know. It was just a constant like kind of seeking adventure. I don't know. It wasn't like I was trying to be weird and abnormal and like get in trouble.
Well, you were also a little kid, and little kids just kind of are so present in everything that they do. They're just like, like you watch a little kid go up to, like an adult will go to a bar to meet people, not meet one person, get belligerently drunk, make an ass out of themselves, go home, and wake up the next day with a hangover. A little kid will show up anywhere. Within 30 seconds, they have a best friend, and 15 minutes later, they separate for that best friend for the rest of their lives, never to see them again, and they're sad for a minute, and then they're fine.
That was always sad.
They did the whole process, though. That's the beauty of it. Every relationship you have is going to end.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it ends in death, it's still going to end.
Yeah.
Or it's going to change. Like, you can call, if everybody has trouble with that, like change and end, same difference. Like, every moment that starts is a new beginning. Every moment that ends is a new beginning.
Yeah.
But anyway, you watch little kids do that, and they're like they're courageous. They're so wise. They're so wonderful. Like, they have this spontaneous joy, this childlike happiness, this ability to be sad. And deal with the grief and then move on. And as adults, I don't think we have that. Like, they bonded and they grieved and they separated. They went through the whole relationship process in like such a short period of time.
Well, as a kid, there's only like right now. They don't really have a sense of time.
Yeah, and maybe that is the.
They only are looking for like what's next.
Let's
have some fun right now.
Is that one of the lies of the status quo, that time even exists? Ooh, did I just go off everybody's radar?
I don't know what you just said.
Yeah, it sounds really science fiction-y, but if you look at, like, time equals distance divided by speed. If I can go further and with more speed, then I am a master of time. And, like, maybe, what if time is, like, even, like, further along this, this is where I get a little kooky. What if time is something that our brains have created to make sense of our environment? What if time isn't even real? Maybe it's just something that we think is real. Like, if you didn't have eyes and you didn't have the sense of sight, you would never know that there was color. It would
You're being really weird right now.
I know. Being really weird. Being really weird.
But, I mean, yeah, I think trying to see potential in every moment and kind of living for the now it gets harder as you get older because there's other distractions along the way.
But do you think it's because of the distractions, or do you think it's because you get like more, you turn less like this moldable clay and you get like hard and gristly and,
Well, there's expectations along the way, and you kind of have to do that, and I don't know, being or going off the path is a little harder.
What if you
for people to realize that, I've lost this ability in myself to like just be in the moment and be weird and spontaneous.
Well, I think like that's like so easy to say, but it's so hard to do. For instance, look at the words behind me. Read unlearning the what you were just saying, those expectations, unlearning this status quo stuff. It would be like me saying, unlearn how to read those words. Like you read that word and you're like, focus, I got it. You don't even have to think about it. It's just you accept that it says focus. So like unlearning how to do all the stuff in your brain, I think is just as difficult as unlearning how to read that word. To put it in perspective of the work that it takes to...
Well, we've been around for a couple decades or 3 decades. So
oh, you mean you and I?
It's definitely...
You've been around for 3 decades now, haven't you?
Yeah.
You're like 3 decades and some change.
I'm just saying, like, we've created habits along this certain period of time. It becomes just like breathing. A lot of the stuff that we have been taught to do.
And some of that is obvious, like breathing. Obviously, you gotta breathe. You gotta eat. You know, you need to get up and move around. But like, how much of it is just I really think that we're just scratching the surface of the mindset stuff.
We are.
Like the best, like the most insightful Buddhist monks and the best, most accomplished psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors in the world, and all the sports psych coaches. If you combine them all into all the knowledge and all the wisdom and everything that we have right now, I still think we're just scratching the surface of what we're capable of.
Yeah, and it's been studied since before we were around, way before we were around. So, I mean, we can only learn from what's already been thought of. I don't know.
You can have original thoughts.
Yeah, you can definitely have original thoughts, but most likely a lot of those thoughts have already been thought. But
sure, like that's like saying has there been an original thought since the first caveman said I don't know.
And that's kind of another thing too, like
no one's ever thought it your way from your experience though.
Okay. But like
there's never been another Rachel Park.
I know.
There's never been another Adam Reese.
I'm just saying, like, as we go as humans, there's less and less spontaneous things that people have never done before or never invented or never... It becomes harder to be, I don't know, when there's a lot of people around. I'm a big person on
So how are you connecting
population.
this back to war on like status quo type stuff?
Well, the more people there are, I don't know, is it easier to be not normal or strange or weird or labeled as that? Because I mean,
I don't think that's an either or. I don't think it's I don't know. I think it's probably indifferent to that because like there's never been another you.
Yeah, I know that.
There's never been another Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if there was someone extremely close.
It's a solo trip.
Well, that too, but like there's just never been another you. You are a new unique being. Mm-hmm. No one has ever been you. You could you could even have an identical twin that thinks like you, breathes like you, has the same DNA as you. You would be 2 separate people because you had 2 separate experiences. No one has ever been you. So I don't know if it's harder or easier.
Well, I'm saying I think it's easier to be, or I think it's getting harder to be strange because there's so many different types of people. But like that's why you just have to do it for yourself, not the pleasing others. Because
that would be
eventually
that would be just trying to be weird for everybody else. That's the opposite of what we're talking about.
No, I'm not saying being weird for everybody else. I'm just saying like go and do your own thing. You like just because a billion other people do it that way doesn't mean it's the only way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the words of the status quo? Like what are some of the things that like when you know that you're indulging in status quo in status
like what,
quo?
For example?
Like when you think that conflict means combat. Like we've had conflicts before. Conflict's inevitable. It's going to happen in every relationship you'll ever have. If you don't have conflicts, there's probably not a very much depth to the relationship, right? So, but just because there's a conflict, just because I have to confront you on something or you have to confront me, doesn't mean that you got to come in with combat. You know, it doesn't mean that you got to be angry. It doesn't mean that you got to be pointing fingers and blaming and doing shit like that. I'm not saying she does that. She doesn't do that. If anybody did that, it would be me. But I think that the status quo says no. You gotta be ready to go in there. I think the status quo like digs into that. Like You should feel guilty for that. Who says? You know?
Yeah, it's made up rules by someone who didn't like it.
This is what you're supposed to do. I had a list, but I gotta bring it up.
I mean, as adults, it's we learn a lot of status quos, and we start to kind of like hear them over and over and over again, but and they kind of become normal.
They're almost always negative, though. The negative versions of the status quo that keeps you from, like, for instance, selfish is supposed to be a negative thing. Selfish is a great thing. It does, like, life is not a zero-sum game where if you have more, someone else has less. That's not what happens. It does help me to help other people.
Yeah.
Selfish. That's extremely selfish. I am an extremely selfish person. I want to help as many people as I possibly can. That's not selfless. It helps me to help other people. Selfless is like this, this characteristic that's so amazing.
Doing it for others.
Selfless is a ridiculous idea that if you take care of everybody else and then you take care of you, no, you had nothing to give to anybody else if you put you last. And if you put you last, then like you're always going to come in last. Like, don't be upset. You know, when you put everybody else's needs in front of yours, you're always going to come in last. It's just how it's going to go. Mm-hmm. But if you take care of you first, you're better at everything that makes you great, and you're better at all, and you're of better service to everybody that you care about.
Everybody can experience you in a more positive way.
Yeah, I try
your
to
kids or your family.
Right. I try to get this through to all the employees at the gym all the time. It's like the best possible way that you can possibly help someone with their health is for them to put money on the table and come into you at Grit Gym. Is the absolute best way because
they are committing.
Because they're committing, right?
And money is a lot of people.
But people think money is a zero-sum game where it's like, no, if you have more, I have less. No, like if I have a candle and it's lit and you come up to me with your candle and you light it, it doesn't mean that I have less of a candle.
Nope.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I have less flame.
You both have a candle.
You both. Like procrastination, I think is another one. Perfectionism is another one. Using the word should, I think should is one of those like words that like
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. Like I should go work out. Then why don't you? I should eat better. Then why don't you? I should have done this. I should have done that. What are you trying to do? Like wrap yourself up in this idea that you're not enough to be able to do the thing, so you're reinforcing a future action.
The guilt. You're reinforcing the guilt for later. Or
the shame, or just the not enough principle. Yeah. Or like judgment. Judgment is always labeled as this bad thing. Mm-hmm. I make judgments all the time. Like I gotta make judgment calls. Like, is this better or is this better? You know?
I mean, whether they're good or bad judgments, you'll learn from them.
Yeah, it's not being judgmental. It's just a judgment. I have to make a judgment.
A judgment.
Maturity is one that you brought up. You're so immature. That's something that the status quo says. Like, being childlike is a wonderful thing.
I loved when she used to say, "You're so immature." Like, well, I'm fun. And I'm having fun doing it. So how is that being immature? Just because I act like a child sometimes and I like to do child things doesn't mean that I'm immature. Or I don't even know what immature means, really.
I don't either. I think it means adult-like, though. I think
it means like aging.
Yeah,
right.
Like the most wise people in the world, I think, are 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds. You know, like little kids. I think they're
look at how much fun they're having.
Yeah.
Except when they poop themselves, and they're probably not having very much fun. They're crying.
That's not very much.
But
fun.
That's about it. But I think also being confident in being weird is also part of it. Instead of being...
What do you mean by confident in being weird? Because like confident I think, is one of the status quo
weird,
words.
Not and.
Confident in being weird. Do you
Confidence,
mean
like you can, when somebody says like, hey, you're being a weirdo, or something like that, you can come back and be confident in how you feel. Like, that's not going to hurt you when you hear that.
I gotcha. You mean confident. So I think, like, me personally, I think that when people use, like, confidence, like, it's this ambiguous word. It's like, what does confidence mean? I don't understand it. Like, what's it look like? You don't know. How are you going to find it? You don't know where you lost it. You know, if I just had more confidence, I think it's just a way that you cycle through this ability, like, to convince yourself that the reason that I didn't
Psych
accomplish
yourself
such and
out.
such, or the reason I didn't get the relationship I wanted is because I lacked confidence. It's like, that's bullshit. That's not the reason. You were scared that you weren't enough, so you didn't accomplish what you came to do. So, like in this, I think what you mean is celebrate the fact that someone called you immature, or that someone called you like a childlike, or someone.
I'm not going to take those words
weird.
personal because
Yeah.
I know that people are thinking that, but really they're the ones that are sitting there and kind of judging you for something that they've never even
tried. They're the ones that are miserable. Otherwise, why would they say it? If they weren't jealous for how you were acting, why would they say that? If they were like, man, that's... otherwise, they would be like... They'd say something to the effect of, that's so great. Mm-hmm. That's so great that girl or that guy can live their life like that. Can be that, free.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they were free, they'd say that. So the status quo is that's another way the status quo gets you. Is like when you start judging other people.
A story like when... So my friend Annie in high school, we like her and I together were kind of like the same person. So it would kind of like multiply when we were in a room together. And the thing was we were super quiet and kind of shy, but at the same time we were always thinking in our head, what are we going to do next? Like what's going to...
Yeah.
So one time...
Well, that's the thing. Like you two are like ducks on a pond. Like on the surface, everything looks calm.
Yeah.
But the wheels are always turning.
So one time, I don't know, I guess I'll admit this, like, this was like 11 years ago, and we never told anybody we did this. But one time we were eating lunch in the locker room, and I thought it'd be funny to throw the chili into the toilet. And then wait for everybody to come to practice, and, like, listen to everybody who went into the bathroom. They're like, oh my God, who did that? That's so stupid. It's so immature. But it was the funniest, like, memory I have of being in that locker room ever.
It's pretty hilarious.
It was. It was just one of those times when it was like, why wouldn't we do this? Like,
that's a good point.
What's stopping us? It's not like we weren't hurting anything. We weren't making anybody, like, I don't know. We weren't gonna like make people grossed out. I don't know.
You're kind of grossing people out, but
that was
funny.
just one of those instances. It was just like, why not? Like, everybody's going to get a laugh out of it. No harm. And we had a good time doing it. I mean, I just wish I would have had more, like, the confidence thing is just like, there were so many times where I would stop myself because I'm like, oh, somebody's not going to like that.
Well, that's not confidence. That's, I'm not, maybe I shouldn't do that because I'm not enough to make that funny. Or... Yeah. But
that really, like, stuff. Us together, like, even though we were kind of insecure and, like, a little bit more quiet and reserved back then, together, we were just, like, we encouraged each other to just do it. And, like, she would also, like, hide in the clothes racks at Target and, like, do this. Like...
Yeah, like fart. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was back before, like, cameras, but I would have totally recorded that if I could.
Yeah, you guys together is
kind of we encourage each other to, like, do shit like that.
But that's fun.
It is.
Like, adults are, like, fun haters.
It's childlike, but...
It is.
In the best way possible.
Yeah.
We weren't hurting anybody.
Yeah, and the person who, the most present, the most wise, like the person who's the most free is the one who is willing to be their absolute self. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think that's the weirdest person too.
That was definitely our absolute self. There was no holding back.
Yeah, I mean, people call us weird because we constantly roast each other and prank each other.
Yeah.
I mean, just seriously, like, compared to other couples, like, I guarantee you, like.
Yeah,
by roasting, I mean
normal,
like,
common situation.
Yeah, like if you don't like it, but it's fun and it's funny and it's hilarious and we both laugh and we both have a good time around it. Mm-hmm. Like I can't imagine having a relationship that isn't like that because I've done that and I understand why people say that their significant other is their ball and chain because they suck and you suck because you're together. Whereas like when you roast each other and you have a really good time because you're both willing to like get clear on who you are first as individuals and then come together as an us second, then this really magical, awesome things happen. But that doesn't happen in the area of the status quo. Status quo destroys that.
I never thought of it that way.
Oh, really? We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why, like, if you're here to be normal, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself normal.
Nope. But we do need to wrap it up, though. We're a little bit past.
Okay.
We didn't start the timer.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. You want to do the send-off? Or is there anything else that... Was there anything else? Yeah.
I don't know. I think that the positive thing about being strange is you never know what's at the other end of the situation, or like reaching out to somebody and like saying something. It's kind of like out of the ordinary to just go up to a stranger and say hello, or like, how are you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is one of those that kind of annoys me.
This
like,
is the thing
I couldn't agree more.
that you could be missing out on. You could be missing out on the conversation, or like maybe you guys have mutual friends, or maybe this person could be your new best friend.
Yeah, there's this real scarcity thing going on right now, and I see it like, I think it's like similar along the lines of people when you meet people on a sidewalk and you look at them and smile and they like kind of turn their head and look away from you. I had that happen multiple times this morning, and I was like, just smile and keep walking if you want, or stop and talk or whatever. I find that so interesting. But there's this thing right now where I don't agree with the notion that you should not talk about things just solely because someone might get upset about it. You know? Like I think that's like the squelch of getting to know someone else. Like Rachel and I disagree all the time.
All the time.
Like not all, like 100% of the time, but on a lot of things.
Like 99%.
Yeah, like, but it's awesome because I get to learn her perspective and she gets to learn my perspective.
Yeah.
And we get to have a mutual understanding there. I mean, not always easy to do, but I think that's a little bit of what you're talking about, right?
Keeps the juices in the brain flowing.
I want to keep my juices in my brain.
But it flows.
But yeah, what else? What else did you have on there that we didn't get to?
Actually, that's funny because, I don't know, I was looking at something and someone described the normal brain as a lazy piece of meat that must be shocked into waking up. I
suppose, yeah.
Having like disagreements or like I don't know, out of the ordinary conversations.
Well, the shock could be like an emotional scenario where bad things happen, and so it forces you to do some searching, or it could be that you create your own shock to get moving too. Yeah,
the mundane conversations that you have every day can be, I don't know, shake it up. Shake it up.
You're a nerd.
That's all.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready to hop off? All right, guys, please like, comment, share. The more people that you send this out to, if you think Grit Gym is a great place to work out, if you think that the message that we're putting out is good, if you like the stuff that we're doing, please send this out to everybody that you know. They're only going to watch like the first 30 seconds of it anyway, if that. But hopefully we can have more of a positive influence on everybody around us. That's one of my things. I wake up every day and I agree to work hard to improve that day. I focus on the present priority and I be a positive influence on those around me. So, and positive doesn't always mean nice, but it does mean positive. Like push people to push myself to be as best as I possibly can, push others to be as best as they possibly can too. That's her job to me. That's my job to her, and that's our job to the rest of the world, I think. Not saying you got to agree with that, just like we were just talking about, but please click the share button, send this out, and we really appreciate that you're here. But you want to say anything?
We really appreciate that you're here.
All right, thanks, guys. We will see you. Actually, tomorrow we're going to be on the road at 12:30, so the show will resume on Thursday, and hopefully we'll be interviewing some people at the conference that we're at. Actually, we didn't even talk about the conference at all.
Oh yeah.
Conference, or maybe we could do it from the plane because we're going to be in the air.
Do this.
You think you could? You think you could have? Yeah, I think you could do a live show.
Need Wi-Fi?
I don't know what you need.
You need Wi-Fi.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, probably make the plane crash or something. Let's hope not. All right, thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.